over me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I'm here with you. I couldn't miss this for the world, and I've been excited to do it all day. Been thinking about getting back on the air and talking to you guys because it's it is one of the highlights of my day. I have other highlights too, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely one of them. I really like being here, and I really like doing the show with you guys. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Ooh, there we go. Now the mic is sufficiently lit. But I hope you guys are doing great. It's Tuesday, so tomorrow is Wednesday. Now, as a little special announcement, I'm guest hosting Bigfoot Odyssey tomorrow, believe it or not. And so Carrie's giving me the reins to the Odyssey. I'll be riding it down the path of the Bigfoot lands, and I hope I do a good job. And a special thank you to Carrie for entrusting me with that. I know it'll be wonderful, and Daniela will be there with me. Perhaps Don will be there too. I'm not sure yet. I haven't really talked to him about it, but we'll be doing that tomorrow night. So I hope you guys stop on over to Bigfoot Odyssey and check it out. That's on YouTube, Bigfoot Odyssey. And if you haven't already checked out that channel, you should, because lots of great information and interviews and documentaries over there. So, but that's tomorrow night. That will be I know it'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I think it's 7 Central. So, then of course we have our 2-hour show at 7 Pacific time, 9 Central. And that'll be Don and I and whatever else we can get into tomorrow night. So it's going to be a busy night tomorrow, but it should be wonderful. So check it out, everybody. Oh, and hello to everybody. Oh, thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. I mean, it's also nerve-wracking because it's one thing to represent my show, but it's another thing to represent someone else's show, and I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to do it badly. Like Carrie will go, "Oh God, what did I do?" So, I'm just kidding. It'll be fine. It'll be a good time. Good fun. And our guest tomorrow is Terry Arnold on the Bigfoot Odyssey. So hopefully you guys will join us. And he's got a YouTube channel. It's Hiking with the Sasquatch Outlaw. So you can certainly check out his stuff out there. And so you're familiar with who's going to be on the show. So anyway, I think I'm all set. Are you all set? Because, well, it's time for bed. All right, guys, so the portal is now underway. We're going to get ready here and do hopefully some great stories, but I got to, waiting for my good buddy to call in. Mr. Duke's supposed to be calling in sometime. I guess he's not quite in the chat yet, so hopefully he'll be calling in. I guess I can start on some stories, and we'll just watch for his call or when he gets into the chat, but that should be awesome, too. So I guess I'll just start, and where we end up is where we end up. So the first story I'm going to read you tonight is coming from Texas. And this is a little bit of a long one, but I guess it's not horrible, but it is a little lengthy. Hold on a sec. There we go. I think I'm sufficiently prepped now. So the first story is Texas. Let's see what's going on in Texas. As you all know, something is a little off with this house. Well, I didn't know that at all, but thanks for telling us. A lot of people have asked about the parents. Like I said in the story above, I don't like it when people reference other stories, because obviously they're not listed on this site in concentric order. So We had been blamed for a lot of what happened in the house. My Aunt Nancy has an autistic son who is the eldest and keeps to himself, 2 daughters, Amy and Vivian, and her youngest son is Mike. And they had a white lab named Lucky. Aunt Nancy's husband's name is Bubba. Yeah, that's definitely Texas. The area they live in is on what used to be the outskirts of Austin, Texas. The city has expanded exponentially in the last 10 years. That's not honestly a dig on Texas. I love Texas. It's a wonderful state. Had a lot of fun there. Based on the bits and pieces of researches I have done, the area had been inhabited by the Tonkawa tribe, Spaniards in search of gold from Mexico City, as well as some of the early settlers from around the time Texas gained its independence. Based on the fact that this neighborhood sits on the Edwards Aquifer with Ditmar Creek running through it, my guess is that it was a popular area to settle no matter who you are. Lots of trees, water, and what seems to be small chunks of farmland hidden off in the bushes even to this day. My aunt told me herself that while she was out in the yard gardening, she could have sworn she saw a woman in some pilgrim-style clothing. It was blue with white edge lacing, and she was riding in a carriage down the street when she suddenly faded and vanished. After turning her head to look at my aunt. Wow, that's pretty intense. Now, my aunt is a devout Mormon and will make up every excuse in the book to deny what she saw was a ghost. She's even gone so far as to say it was the Holy Spirit watching over her house. Sorry. Her son Mike, who is now 19, will still argue with her, explaining that was Mommy Ego. Mommy Ego, from what I've been told, is the lady who's been trying to punish my cousin for something, and she doesn't call him by his name. She calls him Nathaniel, so I think it would be safe to assume that she thinks Mike is her son. Strange people have always lived in the area. Some natural gas lines run through a certain part of the neighborhood, and we used to walk it because it was all cleared out and the grass was kept under control. It was our little shortcut from home to school, and there was a woman who was rumored to be a gypsy, as well as an old man who would turn up in the most oddball places and the strangest of times. Whenever we would ask him what he was doing, he would get angry and threaten to shoot us if we didn't leave him be. There was a hill on the other side of the bridge I mentioned that goes over the creek and has bats under it, and the top of the hill has an old rickety gate and fence posts made out of actual tree branches. The area looks like some sort of horse ranch. In Austin, there was a Texas live oaks everywhere. In Austin, there are Texas live oaks everywhere. Well, on this property is a massive oak tree with about 4 gallows set up around it. The funny thing about this place now is that I mention it is the name of the main road that passes through the area. One road is called Convict Hill, and the other is called Slaughter Lane, and that actually creeps me out even more. Yeah, that's a little intense. I'll be sure to research why they were given those names. Well, I'm sure you won't have to research real long if there's gallows up there. The area is old and parts are overgrown. It was developed in the late 60s and due to the rate at which the city is growing, it was really poorly maintained. Snakes are common in the creeks and tall grass, and most commonly is cottonmouths, copperheads, rattlesnakes, and coral snakes. Jeez. You get the occasional grass snake here as well. Some odd things we found in the area include petrified wood, arrowheads, stones with strange etchings made in them, and dead animals all throughout the creek, ranging from cats, dogs, livestock to some other things that I've never seen before. Not once did we find a dead or injured bat. It's like something that small would get washed away in the creek, and the same with birds and rodents. We crawled up into a bushy area once and found a small clearing with old wooden fishing poles and minnow cage sitting in the water rusting away. There always had the feeling to it that something just wasn't right. I think that about sums it all up, and on a lighter note, I'll give you a quick story that scared the jeebers out of me. My aunt kept a deep freezer in the garage, and the attic entrance was in there as well. The attic had no door or ladder. It says later, but I know they meant ladder. It was just a square hole in the ceiling with edging around it and cross beams a few feet away from the entrance. Beyond that, it was pure darkness. Mike always said that's where Mommy Ego would sleep because it was always dark. Well, one day we were allowed to get some push pops and the delicious orange ones. And we opened the garage and we heard whispering. Both of us looked up, and there, staring at us with malice in her eyes, was a woman with brown, semi-curly hair dangling down. This was one of those moments that seemed like it would never end, and we were both paralyzed with fear. She started to moan as if she was deeply upset, the type of moan actors make when they pretend their husband is dying in their arms. As she was moaning, she started to grit her teeth, and she propped herself up like she was getting ready to come down. We ran out screaming like little girls, and I ran into my uncle's room, and apparently he was asleep. I jumped up on the bed and landed right on his gut, which didn't make him happy. He let out a yell, but I was so scared I didn't stop to realize it was just my uncle. I ran outside of his room, out the back door, and climbed up a little fort we had built next to the swing set. My elder cousins teased me for it, but no matter how many times I told them to go in there and see for themselves, they didn't have the guts to do it. I got in trouble for waking my uncle up like that. As he was going back to his room, I saw him deadbolt the garage door and the doorknob, and he had this look in his eye that a person gets when they have to deal with something they really, really don't want to deal with. He pushed the door to make sure it wouldn't budge, and then went back into his room, and they knew we weren't lying about what we saw. Mike had gone clear out the front door and across the street, where he waited for his mom to ask what the hell was going on. Anyway, I hope this is good enough. Sorry I couldn't post something more official. Next time I'll talk about my little reunion. And there's another addendum onto this. It says, well, like I said, it was my aunt's house, and she just watched us a lot after school. As to where the parents were, they had been present for a lot of the occurrence as well, but in this particular event, they had all gone out for the night and left their 2 oldest daughters to babysit us. The younger of the two is 5 years older than myself, and sorry it's taken so long to reply. I didn't know it got published so soon. I have tons of experiences involving this particular house, but it's really hard to put them into one huge document because I sometimes leave out the details or mix the order in which the events happened, which can make it hard to read. I'll post again. Anyway, that's more. Apparently they're responding to somebody, but I don't see what the person asked, so I don't know. But I do know we do have a call, so let's see what's going on here. This is area code 214. You're on the air. Hello?
Brent?
Yes.
Hi, this is Kat Jackson.
Hi,
and
Kat.
I'm with Kevin and Wayne, and we are Team Deep South.
Oh, cool. How
we
you guys
are
doing?
driving back from Montana, back to Arkansas right now.
Oh, wonderful. Did you have a good time?
We had an awesome time. Thank you very much. We're pulling over off the road so that we can hear better.
Oh, very cool.
But, yeah, it was awesome meeting you, and we had a great time. I'll say on that last story, I'm from Austin, and my whole family lives in that Austin and surrounding area, so I was just curious what little town that was.
Oh, let me see if it says. Yeah, it did say up here on the top. It's blah, blah, blah. They live on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. It doesn't actually give me a name of the city, though, but it was a place that was inhabited by the Tonkawa tribe, Spaniards in search of gold from Mexico City, as well as the early settlers from around the time Texas gained its independence. So, and it's got Ditmar Creek running through it. Does that help you?
No, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, they don't say the exact town.
I'm just curious. Can you turn it off? It's just really loud, so sorry. Okay, Kevin.
Well,
hey,
Brent, how are you?
How you doing, brother? It was great seeing you, and it was great spending time with you, man. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yes, I did. Really glad to finally get to meet you.
Oh, likewise, brother. It was really cool. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Kevin Lang, who was on the show a few times and talked to us about his experiences with Bigfoot. Very cool. And it was a lot of fun to be up there. He was also up in Coloma, as was Kat and as was Wayne. So these three calling were all there with me. It was a pretty intense location, huh?
Yes, it was.
Man.
Couldn't believe how much was there. I've heard about it a lot, but just so much activity there. Both types. The stuff that you were there for and the stuff that we were there for.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check out the videos that we took. I streamed a couple of them, and I got more to do, but we got some really incredible instrumental transcommunication with the spirits there. It was really wild.
We've been able to watch a few of them, but until we actually get back home, we've got about 20 more hours to drive.
Wow, that's a brutal trip, brother.
Anyway.
That's some love right there. You guys really had a lot of love to make that journey.
You see what we went through to come and see you?
Yeah, I know it.
30 hours all the way across the country.
I hope I'm worth it.
We think so.
Oh, well, thank you, brother. It was really cool to meet you guys. And, I hope, you all will come on the show again or that we'll meet again sometime real soon. I know it's in my blood now. I want to get out there more and keep looking.
Any time that you want to come to my house in Arkansas, let me know.
Oh, you bet, brother.
I'm not sure about a whole lot of paranormal stuff, but the other stuff that was up there for it, any of that you want to see, you're welcome to come to my house anytime.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, actually, we do cover a lot of Bigfoot stuff, and while I don't have a lot of experience Bigfoot investigating, I would really have loved to have been two people this last weekend, because I would have loved to have hung out with you guys, and then I loved doing what we did as well, but it would just be amazing to continue to blend those two worlds and to see, what it's all about.
Yeah, I would like to have been able to spend another week up there.
Yeah. So how was the sleeping though? Because I slept down in the hotel. Was it pretty chilly?
Yeah, it was a little bit nipply up there.
Yeah, it was.
Not as bad,
What's that?
not as bad in Coloma as it was in
Scalcahoe
Scalcahoe Pass.
Oh, that was even colder?
That was cold.
Ooh.
Way colder.
Oh, no. Wow.
I wish you could have been there in Scalcahoe with us for the Bigfoot stuff that was over there. That was incredible.
That's what I understand, and Duke is supposed to be making an appearance on the show tonight to kind of bring us up to speed about all you guys experienced.
Yep. Well, I'll let him tell you more about it, since we're kind of in a bad signal area out in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota.
Oh.
We just pulled over to the side of the highway so we could say hi to you.
Well, I love you guys. It was great to meet you. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
I just said I love you guys. It was great to meet you, and thanks so much for helping to make that trip just incredible for me as well.
Yeah, Brent. Hey, this is Wayne.
Hey,
I
Wayne.
just want to get my. Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. It was really cool meeting you as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I'm glad I finally met you. I've been subscribed to you for quite some time now, and I'm glad to have finally met you.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure, brother, and I'm looking forward to getting you on the show. We want to hear more about some of your experiences, brother. That's really incredible.
Yeah, I lived with them for 2 years, and they put up with me, and I put up with them. Kind of annexed me into the family, and
Wow.
I became one of them. But I actually wasn't one of them. I wasn't crawling around on all fours. I just kind of lived around them.
Well,
They
that's amazing.
communicated all the time.
That is really incredible. Well, I look forward to seeing more of you guys. If I ever make it to Texas, I'm going to come knocking.
You better.
Yeah, come on down.
Duke
I'd
wanted
love
me
to.
to tell you what happened. We were the last ones to leave Scalcahoe.
Uh-huh.
Duke wanted me to mention this. And as we were leaving, we were the last ones out of there. And I think they'd had enough of us camping there,
Uh-huh.
because as Wayne was tying the last of the stuff on the back of the truck, we started getting stick breaks.
Ooh.
And there's a couple of grunts that was just right 10, 15 feet away from the truck.
No.
So I think they were done with us up there. There's some stuff that we found that I'll let Duke go over that if he wants to. I don't want to say much about it, but
Okay.
because of some of the evidence that we found there, I think they were just done with us that weekend. So, yeah, all sorts of stuff happened at Scalco that Duke can tell you about.
That'll be epic. Yeah.
But us being the last ones, we got told to hurry up and get out of there. That was kind of cool.
We got escorted by a baby moose out of there.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we drove behind a baby moose for about a half mile.
Oh, wow. Well, at least it was just a baby. Where was the mom?
Yep.
Yeah, we were glad we didn't see her.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Well, you guys are wonderful, and thank you so much for calling in and being a part of the show, and thanks for all the love you guys gave me while I was there. I just really felt at home with all of you guys. It was wonderful.
You're awesome, Brent.
Well,
anytime, brother.
All right. Well, you guys make sure you make sure to have safe travels home. Be careful, and I'll look forward to more conversations with you guys.
Yes, sir.
Sure thing.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.
You too.
Well, that was awesome. That's awesome. I love that stuff. It's really cool, and they were really amazing people. Everybody there was just really cool. I met Caveman as well, and just they were all so incredibly welcoming and down to earth. There wasn't an ego in the whole place. Everybody's just happy to be there, sharing these experiences. One of the most cool parts was on Friday night. After, we'd been hiking around, walking around. Dan and I did a little preliminary investigating, nothing too off the top. I think Friday for us was mostly just getting our bearings. And, we all sat around the campfire, and it was just stories. Everybody was sharing stories, and it was just such a really cool experience. It was the experience that you would totally imagine that to be, where people were sharing their encounters, people were sharing their stories, and Dan shared a few of his ghost encounters and stuff with everybody, and it was really cool. I just really had such a nice time. It was an amazing event, and I'm so thrilled that we were able to make it up there for that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I have more stuff coming regarding our daytime investigations on Saturday that are filmed, so it's going to be real high quality, hopefully good audio. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm just finally now starting to feel like I got my feet under me a little more. So I'll be releasing that as soon as I can, and Dan will be coming on to talk about that. And in a bit here, Duke's going to be calling us, and he can fill us in on the rest of all that happened when they went to the second site. So we started off all in the same site on Coloma Ghost Town, and then the second day, which was Saturday, they all split off and went to another location to investigate the Bigfoot stuff up in this mostly abandoned wash, and apparently had some epic experiences. But, Dan and I, of course, had epic experiences that many of you were a part of, being there with us as we investigated. So really amazing. Just a great, great time. It's on my mind all the time. It's just, I'm still there in many ways. I'm still there right now, just living in those moments. It's just so powerful. So, but, what can I say? So, Duke, whenever you want to call in, brother, you just feel free. I'm standing by for you. But in the meantime, I'll find another story for us, because these are the bedtime stories, and it's time for bed. I love that line. It might be kind of cheesy. I don't know, but I love that line. All right, so here is another story, and this one's coming from Texas again. Could this be possible, too, from Texas? Oh, you know what? This is the first one. I don't want to read that. We just read it. Okay. You know what? I think I've read that one before, to be honest with you. All right, let's go to California. I'm getting my head on straight here. Sorry. California. This is not too long. This is about a medium-sized story. It says, I lived in California. I had a house, and the ghosts in this house weren't too bad. Harmless, actually, compared to the thing that resided in my parents' house in Calgary. We'd recently moved into a new place over the past few months, and I'd been keeping track of some things that go on in the house. I noticed that every day around 5:30 or 6 p.m. every night, the toilet on the main floor bathroom would flush by itself. One night while making dinner, my fiancée Jerry went into the bathroom, and this was sometime between 5 and 6, and she told me that while she was in there, she felt the temperature drop quite a few degrees, and the hair on her neck stood up, and she closed the door. Read the cowman? I don't know what the cowman is, B-I-G. I don't know. All right. She felt the temperature drop. The hair on her neck stood up. She closed the door and was just about to do her business when the toilet flushed very spontaneously on its own. After it flushed, she mentioned she felt a cool breeze blow past her. Keep in mind there are no windows in this bathroom, and the temperature returned to normal. My brother is still living with us, and we figure that his room is the most haunted in the house. He hasn't exactly been lucky with his rooms. If you read my last story, you'd know that what I'm talking about. And he says that on occasion, he will be woken up to his bed moving very gently back and forth. Other times he'll feel a weight at the foot of his bed as if someone had sat down. When he gets home from school, he will head straight up to his room and do his studies and crank his stereo. And he says that the CDs will change tracks for no reason, or the volume is being messed with, and he'll get up to fix the problem, and when he turns around, his books and homework are on the floor. The poor guy's been through so much that I think he's learned to just brush it off and ignore it. But then again, other times I can hear him upstairs cursing in frustration with something. Those are the experiences Jerry and my little brother have to deal with, but as for me, I've had a very different experience. One night, I was out in the garage working at my bikes. I had a big race that weekend, so I wanted to make sure everything was working properly. And I was waiting for my mechanic to come by so he could take a look and see if I'd missed anything. And when he arrived, he came in and asked me, who was the little girl sitting on my front step? And I thought it might have been one of the neighbor's kids or something, so I got up to see. And when I looked around the corner towards my front steps, nobody was there. But there was a little pink ball sitting at the bottom of the steps. I grabbed it and took it to the house a few doors down and left it on their porch. I figured it was one of their kids. Me and Grant worked on the bikes for a little while, and when we stopped for a break for a beer, we were talking about the race coming up and who was going to be there and who's going to be tough competition when we heard a giggle come from the driveway. We got up and checked to see if anyone was there, but there was nobody to be seen. We walked back into the garage, and there, sitting beside my toolbox, was a little pink ball. Grant and I looked at each other and agreed something quite out of the ordinary was going on. We left the ball where it was as we finished the inspection on the bikes, and after Grant left, I picked up the ball and kicked it into the backyard. The ball stays in the same place except when I mow the lawn. Whenever the ball gets moved, it always ends up back in the same spot in the backyard. We figured that a little girl used to live here and she continues to play and cause trouble, even when we're there. I don't mind her, although she can be a troublemaker at times, messing with Chris's stereo, playing with my theater system, misplacing Jen's makeup. In fact, we quite enjoy having her around. She brightens everyone's day. For what it's worth, I hope that's really a little girl, and not a big, ugly, demonic figure. I don't know. Again, with the kid spirits thing, that's a tough one for me. It always will be, though, because I have to reconcile my own idea of spirituality with the idea that there could be these innocent, beautiful spirits left to wander. That to me is just real tough. I don't understand it. So I'm not always convinced these little girl spirits or little boy spirits are actually little boys or little girls. Oh, I just love that stuff. All right. It doesn't love me, but I love it. But that's the way love should be, right? Love is selfless. I'm drinking a Coca-Cola for those of you not looking. All right. Cowman of Kapalas Beach, big? Yes, Duke. I don't know where that story is. Cowman of Kapalas Beach. If you send it to me or send me a link to it, I'll be happy to read it on the show. I'm just not familiar with it right off of hand. But I'll be happy to share any stories you guys think the audience would enjoy. I'm all for it. So, I see we don't have any calls yet. Hold on. All right. I had to again. This one's coming from California. This is real short. I don't remember what month it was, but I remember I was only 8 or 9 years old, and my father had to leave town for the night, and since I'm the youngest child, I was chosen to sleep with my mom for the night since she can't sleep on her own. That night she slept on my father's side while I slept on my mother's side, and I was kind of scared to sleep on her side since she gets sit on by a ghost every now and then. Well, that night I slept fine. The next early morning, my mom woke me up and she was getting out of bed, and I heard her left to the bathroom, so I just laid in bed trying to go back to sleep. In less than 5 minutes, I felt like something was coming towards, and all of a sudden, I felt a hand creeping towards my stomach. Right then, I tried to get up as quick as I could, but I couldn't move. I tried to call for my mom, and I tried to move, but couldn't, so I gave up because I knew there was no way he or she would get off of me. About a few minutes later, I felt the heaviness off my body. I was so scared, I got up and left the room, and I told my mom about what had happened, and she laughed. She then told me that I got sat on because I was sleeping on her side, and the ghost, thought I was my mom. After she told me, I went and slept in my room. Yeah, that would be enough to kill a good snuggly time. That stuff is just terrible. All right. That's kind of falls in line with the whole sleep paralysis thing. And again, I do believe there is a clinical sleep paralysis. I don't mean to offend any of the scientific minded with talk of that, but I also do believe there's a spiritual version of that that's a little more nefarious. I don't know. I just, it depends. A lot of people experience sleep paralysis as just being frozen. And it is a panicky thing. It's a horrible, horrible thing. But these people that are feeling or experiencing another being there, sometimes they see them, and maybe people would say, well, that's because they're still having a nightmare based upon their physical experience. And it could be. But what if it's not? And that's the thing. I think that's important, that we don't forget the wisdoms of our ancestors. And, for instance, so our ancestors had all these cures for things, and some of them were absolutely amazing, and some of them were more hokey, but they really had a real developed idea of how to use the natural world to cure a lot of ailments. Well, then came along our version of medical sciences and medical advances, and that basically, hogwashed all that other stuff and threw it away. And instead, you can use this chemically produced alternative or other version, and then come the side effects and all these other things that the natural versions never had. And then over a period of time, it kind of goes back full circle, and it's like, well, that stuff's not good for you. Why don't you try this natural remedy instead? So it's like, the wisdoms of the old ways, I think, are coming back in a lot of ways because they were right about a lot of stuff. They really were. And while there isn't a lot of room in our modern scientific vision for spirituality and spirits, there are movements within the sciences that would suggest otherwise, that they're, and I think ultimately what will happen is, through the course of discovery and physics and quantum physics and all that stuff, they're eventually going to prove exactly what we've been saying all along. It's just that there's this long, convoluted process to get back to where we were. And again, I'm not disparaging sciences, both medical and otherwise, because we live incredibly comfortable lives based upon the discovery of these sciences and the implementation of these sciences in our lives. For the first time in almost recorded history, in our modern world, we don't have to focus on survival. And this is something that actually came up when we were in Coloma. I think it was Dan and I were talking, and it's like, maybe, back when this was an active town, people had to focus on living. They had to focus on surviving. They had to cut firewood. They had to provide meats and stuff and farm and can and prepare, because that's how they survived the times of year when there wasn't the ability to grow or plant or gather. And so that was part of their deal. Now we just turn the dial up, turn up the thermostat, and we call Domino's and say, hey, I'm hungry, bring me a pizza. I mean, we live in probably the most comfortable period ever in the history of humankind. And I think that is great, because I think that has allowed people to change their focus towards moving forward. And perhaps that may help to understand why we are advancing so quickly. Well, we don't need to be as focused on staying alive from season to season. That's, for the most part, that's taken care of. If you pay your bills and you have a job, you can do that, and then you can focus forward. So, we are very fortunate to be alive in the time we are. As much problems and as much as is wrong in this time, I think, in many ways, we have it much better than any of our ancestors ever dreamed. And, sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, because, we also have this new version of people that don't seem to be able to put up with too much, because they're so used to convenience and comfort that they don't have much tolerance for both physically and emotionally. Hopefully we find our balance again, though. So anyway, pizza Domino, absolutely. That's what I mean, Marilina Bonavita. I like your name. That's a cool name. Marilina Bonavita. Sorry. I like accents. What can I say? Let's see. I do have a call, and I wonder, could this call be the amazing, incredible Mr. Duke Sullivan? How you doing, brother?
Big Sky, howdy, and welcome to another exciting installment of Duke Calls and Bothers the Paranormal Portal. How's everybody doing?
You never bother us, brother. In fact, I've been looking forward to your call, because I'm excited for the audience to hear everything that you guys experienced on your part of the journey.
Well, it's way more than I could tell in the allotted time, so they're going to have to tune into all the installments of videos that we're going to be doing about it.
Oh, sure.
Because everybody that was up there had things that happened, or they saw, or they documented, and, other exciting things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to give you guys a brief rundown. In fact, I got one of the other team members who will be driving back into cell phone range shortly. That's going to call in after me and tell you about his part up there at the Scalco and something that we found. But, the interesting thing for us is after you left, there wasn't a whole lot of activity. It was pretty quiet. We heard some movement. There were some noises off in the distance, a little faint babble or samurai chatter. So they were, fairly nearby, but apparently there was too many of us, so they weren't getting too close.
Sure.
Then late night, early morning, it started raining, and it was plenty cold already. So that was fairly miserable, and that covered any noise they would have been making, so you couldn't hear them, if they were around camp at that point. As soon as the sun came up, me and Team Helena and one of my team members, Creature,
mm-hmm.
and who else was up? Shane, all went under Team Helena's little tarp that they had to get out of the rain, and we were having coffee. And I had my back to that great big rock pile. You know where that is.
Uh-huh.
And Travis was facing me, looking toward it, and all of a sudden I heard this thump sound, and he has his mouth wide open, and this look on his face was stunned. And he goes, "Did you see that?" And I, well, no, of course. I'm looking the other direction. And he goes, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I heard it. What was it?" And he goes, "That was a rock hitting Kevin's tent." And I'm like, "Wow, where'd that come from?" And he goes, "I saw it arc off the top of the rock pile and fly over and hit his tent."
Oh, man.
We're the only people that were awake. We're right there.
Wow.
So something was up on top of the rock pile and threw a rock at Kevin's tent to wake him up. And I asked him about that, and he said, "I thought that was one of you guys punching my tent." And I went, "No, Travis saw the rock arc through the air and hit your tent." And he's like, "Really?" So, they wanted him to get up for some reason.
Wow.
Then it took us most of the day and everything to get up there. By the time we got there, most of the sites that we wanted to be on had already been taken by weekend campers. We had to move to one that we didn't know anything about and take that one over. And we didn't have too much activity the first night. We actually heard some vocalizations and stuff, and so we knew they were around. But in the morning, me and Caveman and Team Helena went up the giant rock bluff on the other side of the road that's, I don't know, 150, 200 feet high. And right away, me and Caveman picked up a Bigfoot trail, which, you hardly ever find those. It's usually a game trail. But this is actually literally a Bigfoot trail.
Wow.
So he started going up it with Team Helena behind him, and every so often when he'd see an obvious track, he'd stop and point it out and blah, blah, blah. I knew they were going to some lookout spot up on top, so I beelined it straight up the hill and got up there and scouted it. So by the time they got up there, I'd found it. And, of course, there was a big crack in the boulders about 8 feet wide and about 10 feet high, so you could sit out of the wind, and the open side on it faced overlooking the camp. So then that afternoon, Caveman and Team Helena went over to the other side of the river on the opposite side of camp and went to 1,300 feet up to the top of the hill and found several Bigfoot trails, pile of tracks, like 4 really big X structures and some other miscellaneous structures. He found one I found, and then he ran across the same one, and he named it Motel 6. It's a really strange tree structure.
Wow.
And then he got back to camp. Michael showed up and grabbed me, and we went for down to Hidden Valley, 2-man team. Well, Deep South was road squatching, and those guys were still up on the hill. They hadn't come back down yet. And me and Michael were trying to find this megalith we had found up there once before and couldn't figure out exactly where it was, and accidentally stumbled on a Super X. It's like 4 or 5 stories high. So since, conveniently we found it and we're there, let's videotape that. So that'll be coming up. And then we got back out again, got back to camp. Everybody was pretty much, I think that was pretty much it. At that point, we started to break down and we started having more activity around the camp. That afternoon, Kevin and Texas Cat were sitting there around the campfire taking a rest for a minute and looking on the hillside across the river. And Kevin picked it up right away. There was a booger there that was next to one of the trees. It was doing a little sway and poked out and looked at him a few times, about 20 seconds or so. And he pointed out the cat, and she got a look at him too.
Oh, cool.
And then he pulled back behind the tree and ducked down so they couldn't see him anymore. So they both saw one. And Wayne says he's seen fleeting glimpses of a couple of them when he was back in the timber. Mm-hmm. So we got three visuals out of the group. Wow. And the rest of us just found a bunch of tree structures and tracks. And at one point, the group found what is, we're extremely convinced, a Bigfoot hair sample.
Wow.
And they collected it properly with latex gloves and a pristine Ziploc bag turned inside out over the hand, grabbing the hair and then pulling the bag back over the hair and zipping it shut so it never comes in contact with human anything.
Good.
And with eyewitnesses watching it being done. So it'll be interesting to have that analyzed. So other than that, that was pretty much it. But believe me, we got plenty of pictures and video. Oh, and the other thing is that Team Deep South, when they were running around Hidden Valley, found this boulder jumble that did not look natural. And they went to check it out a little bit closer, and they found what looked like a little entrance going around the side of it into what you would think would be some sort of an animal burrow underneath it. It wasn't big enough for a human to crawl into, but it'd have a woven lattice of wood up above it, like a deck up above. If you threw leaves on it or something, it'd be a nice little, sun deck or something. But underneath it, there was about 5 or 6 feet of sand going into this entrance, and in that sand, there was a whole bunch of little tracks about 4 inches long that looked like moccasin tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So they got pictures of that too.
Wow. Yikes.
Yep. So yeah, the Narumbi are around here, and there's probably them up there. And when they just called you, they're down by the Crow Reservation, which is where their underground super fortress is reputed to be, according to the Crow. The Pryor Mountains down there, that's where they got their underground city, supposedly. So
right. Yep.
Yep. They're finally driving out of their territory now. They got to deal with other little people wherever they're heading up at. I don't know about the ones down there. So anyway, yeah, that was about it. And like I said, we got video and pictures and everything to document all of it. I'll be having all the people that were involved on talk about it and show the evidence. So that'll be on upcoming shows. But there you go, guys. Quick breakdown on our, relatively placid and not surprising expedition. The only thing I can add on to what Kevin said is that about a half an hour before this whole thing happened with them sort of getting chased off, mm-hmm. Me and Caveman were over on the edge of the campsite breaking down tents. And all of a sudden he goes, "Whew, did you smell that?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, I caught a whiff of a bad one." And I'm like, "Really?" And I keep packing up. I think I was rolling up my sleeping bag. About 40 seconds later, I caught a whiff of it too, and it was like old dried dung mixed with wet dog musk mixed with like an electrical fire.
Oh.
And I went, wow, that one's stinky. Go take a bath, dude. And then I said, not you, caveman. He just started chuckling. And then we were like, well, yeah, he's getting really freaking close if we can smell him that good. So we got everything packed up there, and then we figured they were pretty much ready to go. And, we were 30 feet from their truck when we were smelling them, so he was good and close already. And then dark closed in. We had everything packed. They knew which direction to go. So we took off, and about 3 minutes after we left, that's when they started hearing the grunts and growling and, tree snapping and 15, 20 feet away from the truck in the dark where they couldn't see it.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, we were sort of under the impression that they kind of didn't want us to be there another night. And my theory is that because of the really well-beaten Bigfoot trails on both sides of the camp across that little teeny piece of valley where the camp is in, it's probably like one of their highways, more or less, and we're camping in the middle of it, so they weren't happy about it.
Right. Wow. That is incredible. Now, you'll be releasing more and more of this, of course, on World Bigfoot Radio in the coming week or weeks, or when do you think you'll...
In the near future. I still have part 2 of the Puckwood You Show to put up.
Okay.
And then everybody has to call and do interviews and send me all the video and pictures and stuff, and I'll put it together. But I did the same thing with all the summer expeditions last year. I think it was like a 4-parter last year.
Sure.
So it'll probably be about the same thing this year.
Excellent. Well, it was, again, thank you so much for extending the invite for me and Dan, and we had an amazing time, and I can't thank you enough. It was just such an incredible experience, and not only the location, but just to be there with you guys and hang out and to, finally meet you all. So that was just really, really cool.
Well, it was a blast for the Deep South Squatchers, too, because they're coming from like 100 degrees and 1,000,000% humidity up to where they have to wear hoodies at night. So they're kind of actually digging that. There wasn't much complaining about it being really cold going on until they actually had to go to sleep. Then they weren't enjoying it. But other than that, they were kind of digging not being sweating all the time.
You spoon me.
Yeah, you ducked out. You missed the cold hours of the night. That's
I'm telling you, the hotel was pretty rough. The hotel was pretty rough too, Duke. Don't let me fool you. The hot tub on Saturday morning.
Extremely rugged. Yeah.
That hot tub, I
know about these Missoula cheapy hotels that make us sleep on leftover beds and nails they got from India from years ago and stuff.
Actually,
horrible.
We stayed in a really nice one because Dan travels for business and he had all kinds of points. So it was a really nice hotel. It was like, wow. I don't know if I belong here, but the hot tub the next morning, I was so much in pain, so sore, and still feeling cold from the night before. But I soaked in that hot tub for a good 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, game on. It's Saturday. It was epic.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had a great time, too. The weather was really quite nice, other than the morning shower that we got at Coloma, which, by the way, it was pretty much petered out by the time we were coming down the mountain. And for you folks that weren't there, they were going up the mountain as we were caravanning down it. So that's how really close we basically almost kind of missed each other.
Yeah, did you see us? Did you see us as you passed?
Oh, yeah. We saw you as we went past. We didn't realize it was you passing up the wave, and then the guys behind us saw it was you.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we were like, hey, I was waving, but it's a mountain road, so there's not a lot of looking around for people on the mountain road.
Yeah, we're concentrating on not going off the 500-foot cliff on the side sort of thing, not really paying attention to the other traffic.
But it's great. And ladies and gentlemen, there is talk about making this Coloma thing a yearly thing, and, the more the merrier. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah, there's plenty of camping room there in Coloma. There's no shortage of camping room.
Yeah, there's all kinds of room. You probably want to huddle close together, but there's all kinds of room.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's great. But thanks again, brother. That was brilliant.
Yeah, the first time I was up there as researcher, actually thought I was crazy because we had a full moon just like we did this weekend, except it was actually clear.
Oh,
so it was like having a big floodlight on everything.
Yeah.
So I was going out about every half an hour or so without a flashlight, just walking around. seeing if I could catch any shadows trying to duck behind a tree or anything. And she just thought I was absolutely crazy doing that by myself, walking around in the dark without a flashlight there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't get back into the timber where they could ambush me. They had to get out in the open for at least 30 feet in order to do anything. That means they'd have to step at least once, so I'd hear them.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll be epic. Every chance we get, we're gonna make something happen for the shows, and I hope that we can continue to overlap these worlds, because it was just so cool. Dan really loved it too. He loved the opportunity to hang out with you Sasquatch researchers and to talk and to hear your stories. He was really happy about being able to be there. So thank you from him as well.
I was just so grateful. You're very, very welcome, and I was so grateful that you took the invitation and showed up and took the chance that I wasn't giving you a bum steer, and it really was a really haunted ghost town, and you'd have activity there. And same thing with Kevin and Caveman. They don't know exactly what's going on up here, and they took the chance to make all the effort to get up here. And I got to tell you, meeting you, those two, and everybody else, it was really wonderful for me. And actually getting to go out squatching with Caveman and run around the mountains with him, that was fun. I was having a great time there. That was awesome.
Well, maybe next time I'll hit those trails with you guys too, in my slightly less pudgy form. I'll have to hit a treadmill between now and then.
I'll do some more live streams from the field, Brent, and you'll be less pudgy.
I know that's definitely on the plan. That we're definitely trying to make that happen, brother. But thanks again. It was just magical.
Well, you don't feel bad. You should have seen me on Sunday, because I was moving way, way slower than you were on Sunday.
Yeah.
By Sunday, I was doing an incredible impression of the living mummy, like the 1930s one,
sure,
where it shambled and barely moved.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where my movement was at by Sunday afternoon. I was like, okay, just get the hand truck and pour me into the vehicle. I can't walk anymore. It blisters on both feet. My back's giving out. My ankle's giving out. I'm still at the shambling stage today, but I'm recovering. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys the update so you know what's coming up here. There's cool shows to look forward to. We found lots of stuff, and we're going to try and plan at least one more field outing here before snow flies, hopefully more than that. We'll keep you guys posted, and Michael should be trying to call in and tell you about what happened with us here at some point before the show's over, so I better go so you can do it.
All right, brother. Well, thanks again. It's great to hear from you, and I'm sure we'll be talking bunches.
All right, man. Take care, brother. Love you, and thanks everybody out there. And I'll be back in chat in a second.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. See you, Duke.
Bye.
All right, so that's take 2 of the Coloma journeys reporting in, and hopefully we'll hear from this other individual that should be calling. We got a few minutes left. I mean, we got as much time as we need, really. But, all right, here we go. This is area code 406. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Michael. I was listening to the end of Duke, and he's like, Michael's probably going to be calling in. I was like, well, I guess that's my cue to stop listening and actually jump on.
Perfect, brother. Welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in.
Well, of course. I missed the first half. I was picking up kids from the babysitter, so forgive me for not knowing exactly what was going on, what was being said.
No, they were just...
you just want to hear what happened for me that weekend?
Yeah, please. It would be great if the listeners can hear what you experienced up there during that time. It was great to meet you, too, by the way.
All right. Oh, it was a pleasure meeting you. It was an honor.
Thank you, brother.
And forgive me if you hear some noises in the background. I'm still driving home with the kids in the back.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all, man.
So, Friday after work, picked up Duke and headed up there to Coloma. That was our first outing. We got all set up, and we were just sitting around the fire and telling Sasquatch stories, and we were walking up to the standing rocks, checking those out. You could actually feel, I don't know if there's like a barometric pressure change in between a couple of the standing rocks. Kevin was saying it felt like you could hear a whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't hear it, but I could feel the pressure change in my ear, almost like when you go to a higher elevation, there's like an extra pressure there.
Sure.
But it was kind of weird, just between those two rocks. So they were talking, could be a possible like gateway for a portal or something.
Right.
Which it makes sense when you think about the the physics of how radio waves and frequencies all come together with energy and matter. So, I mean, it's possible that we just can't perceive it, but it's something that, the Sasquatch or something could eat.
Right. Or the spirits, for that matter. Because it was a very...
Exactly, spirits too.
Yep, very energetic place. And just so you know, Dan, who you met as well, he brought a Geiger counter, and his Geiger counter alarmed twice up there for a gamma burst. And by his research, and he's been working a lot on portals, he said that if there is a portal opening, there should be a gamma burst. So it burst twice when we were up there.
Yeah, so who knows what was coming through?
Right, exactly. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, continue.
But yeah, no, I brought my Russian military grade night vision monocle. Has the starlight or low light vision. Didn't use any infrared. I didn't see anything, that night. Actually, I didn't see anything either night. But it's still cool to be able to look into the tree line in the dark and look as if it was almost like morning or late evening.
Right.
I also had my FLIR 1 thermal imager that attaches to my phone. Didn't catch anything spooky on that either, but it's still kind of fun to be able to see people in the dark walking off in the field when I couldn't see them with my naked eyes.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, so it was fairly quiet on a Friday night. We could hear some noises off in the distance, and it sounded like they were trying to surround us, just kind of get a glimpse of everything.
Right.
Sorry, I'm getting out of the car. But we just had a great time just telling stories, and as Duke said, it was raining Saturday morning. I had woken up about 6:30 to contact my wife to see if she could contact her grandma to come watch the kids because she had to go to work.
Okay.
And as I was put my phone away, I was trying to go back to sleep because I was up till about 4 the night before, just doing our thing. And it was funny. I heard a vocalization that I've never heard before. And you hear about this kind of stuff on the podcast, but you don't really think about it till you hear it in real life.
Sure.
But it sounded like a raven crowing, and then it transitioned into a samurai chatter. Did you want me to go ahead and do like a little impression of it?
Oh, please. Yeah, I would love to kind of get an idea what that means.
Okay, so it started off like a and then switched to and it did it twice. And like I said, it's 6:30 in the morning. Nobody else, I don't think, was awake, so I don't think anybody else heard it. But it sounded like it came from the big slag pile, over that little hill there. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" I've never heard anything like that before. But you hear about this in podcasts of people's encounters,
right?
Where they hear these calls that transition from one thing to another. And so I was like, sure. It could be a raven, but the second part of it was, a samurai chatter. So, where did they pick that up? But I'm thinking it was actually, one of them. Yeah, so,
right.
It was pretty interesting.
That is really interesting.
Hold on. All right. So then, we got everything all packed up. We had to get going to the next destination, which was there in the Scalpaho Pass. So we got loaded up. I actually had to come back home to watch the kids for a little bit. And the rest of the caravan headed down, I think, to Phillipsburg and up that way. But I convinced my wife to let us go camping that night. And she's like, yeah, okay. So we packed up the big rig and loaded the kids in. We drove down to Hamilton and went up that way, which has really narrow roads and steep cliffs.
Ooh.
So it's even scarier than getting up to Coloma. Yeah. It's worse when you have the longer expedition version of it. And then I had a tote behind that. The big, wide, long vehicle. But we camped, and as we were sitting around the fire, kids were in bed. And I think the baby was still awake, and she was holding him, and she could hear something approaching from behind her in the dark. and we couldn't see anything.
Wow.
I think Shane and Caveman were sitting on the other side of the fire, and actually on the other side of a pickup from the boys, Austin and Ashton, their pickup, and they were just sitting there chatting, and they saw one moving down the bank on the other side.
Oh, geez.
And it was about that time that I was going to go try and get some more firewood, because we were running low. The fire was starting to teeter off, so I went out there to try and get some, brought some back, and then I went back to get some more with my bigger flashlight, and it felt like something was peering at me, but I couldn't see what it was. But I grabbed the big log and kept the flashlight, facing that direction, and just walked backwards towards the camp, because I was like, there's something watching me. Later on, I was talking with Caveman, and he was like, oh yeah, we were watching this one, you could see its eyes, showing up. It moved down a little bit farther. We got to a section down the river, and a second one was down there, and it went off in this other direction, and he pointed to where I had come from. And I was like, was that when I had my big flashlight on trying to go get the wood out by myself? And he's like, yep. I was like, well, I felt like something was watching me. I just couldn't see it. Wow. So that was kind of creepy that it was coming in. I don't know what its intentions were, if it was just check and see what I was doing, or if it had other thoughts. But that was kind of chilling. But then it didn't rain that night. It was pretty quiet, and the next day I had to take my family to her grandma's in Hamilton, and I was able to go back out and go squatching, because I didn't get to really do that on either night.
Right.
But Duke and I, we went up to the Sandy River Basin, the kind of hidden valley up there. And we were trying to look for a megalithic structure that he had found a couple of years prior, and I wanted to document it, but we couldn't find it. But we did end up finding a big X structure. Well, he's the one that spotted it, and you guys will be able to see pictures and a video of that on one of his upcoming episodes.
Oh, cool.
But we just kept wandering, going up hills, down hills. I found, I think, 2 tracks on this little excursion. One that was like 10 inches, and one that was like 15 inches.
Wow.
But we got to the top of a peak, where we were going to decide to go back to the car. But right before we got to that top, I had found a little teepee structure. It was probably 10, 15 feet tall.
Okay.
You guys will be able to see pictures of that on this thing.
Wow.
We headed back to the car and almost got lost, but we got back to the access road and figured out which direction to go, and got back to the car.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That would suck to get lost
yeah.
up there.
Well, especially after we just got done hiking, probably a few miles, actually, like a big old circle.
Right.
Through, a little bit of a bog, and then going up the mountain, stepping over fallen logs and everything.
Sure.
And then coming back down. Yeah. It was still fun.
Oh, good.
But then we went back and got with the rest of the group, and we took Caveman out, and Shane followed in his car to go see if we could relocate a teepee structure that Duke and I had found a few months prior. It's one that I had found. I was going one direction, and I was looking back, and I happened to see it. But we ended up finding it, and I also found one that was not as big or as complete, probably about 100 yards from this one. But this one teepee structure, you guys will be able to see pictures of it. There's no arguing of like what else it could be. I mean, you cannot say, oh, the wind blew these trees over, because they're still growing. They're just pushed.
Oh.
And the top, they are woven together, and it's a perfect teepee structure. Like, you could throw buckskin on there or tarps, and it would literally be a perfect teepee.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, like I said, you'll have to see the pictures on Duke's show. But it was amazing. We got, like I said, I got Shane and Caveman to see it, and they just kind of, to me, they just kind of looked dumbfounded, like, holy cap, this is you cannot deny that there's something out there.
Right.
This is not natural.
No kidding.
And even all around the base of that, around all the base of the teepee, there was trees brought in from elsewhere, and they were kind of bent and woven around other tree bases.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like a try to keep people out, or keep animals out
Sure.
of the area. And you'll see pictures and videos of that. That was really awesome. But that's when I had to pack up. It was already getting late, and I had to go get the wife and kids and bring them home and do the dad thing. But I mean, it was a fun. It felt really short, even though it was kind of 2 nights I got to stay.
Yeah.
It was amazing to get to meet you and your partner, and it was amazing to meet a caveman. Mm-hmm. And I was so honored to meet Kevin. Yeah. And of course, Khaki Lackey and Texas Cat. It was awesome meeting them. Yeah. And Shane, he's just a good guy. Shane really helped out, and we all brought something to the expedition, and without all of us there, it wouldn't have seemed as much of a group. Like it was. Yeah. It was like the Avengers, but Bigfoot hunting. And we all brought something that the other person didn't quite have.
It was really an instant family, wasn't it? I mean, it felt like an instant family. Like boom, we were all just bonded right away.
Well, it was, and it was just great. And so I really hope that we can set up something like this again in the near future.
Well, like I was telling
even
Duke,
if it's next year, but
yep, that's what I was telling Duke, that Dan said he'd love to come back and make this an annual thing. So, I at the very least, let's do it yearly. But hopefully, we can find ways to get together on several of these.
Yeah. Well, next time you guys will have to actually tough it out in the tent or something, so you guys can get some of the goodie action when the Sasquatch actually come in, because it's when lights go out that the fun begins.
Well,
if you ever listened to our story last year on Duke's show, you'll get to hear that from a couple of us that were up there.
Sure.
It's really a blast.
These
things are they're fun.
But someone's got to stay in those hotels. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. My wife works at a hotel, so she really appreciates the laundry that gets put in the laundry chute.
Excellent. I'm glad I could help provide. Well, thank you, brother, for calling in. It was great to meet you, and thanks so much for sharing your experiences with us.
Well, thank you for letting me on.
Yeah, anytime. The phone lines are always open, so I hope you'll call in again.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, we'll be talking to you later.
All right. Have a great night. Thanks again.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a bunch of different perspectives on what happened this last weekend, and a few ghost stories thrown into the mix as well. So a pretty robust bedtime stories, I'd say. And it actually went a little long, not too bad, only 8 minutes after the hour. So I hope you all liked what you experienced here tonight. It really was an incredible experience. And again, more of that stuff will be coming. Check out the archives. I got an investigations playlist, and it encompasses all of the live streams that happened up there in Coloma from the first night, Friday, when we were just walking around and Duke was giving us the lay of the land and meeting everybody, until the second night when Dan and I were up there alone investigating and dealing with all the creepiness there. So if you haven't checked them out, please do. But look for that investigations playlist on our YouTube page, because that's where you'll find it. And more to come, definitely. So anyway, guys, I guess that's gonna. Oh, we got another call. Never mind. Let me get to this one. And this is area code 407. You're on the air. Nope, he hung up. Okay. I'm sorry I lost you. I don't know. Maybe he thought I was closing the show. Well, I was, but I just looked up and there was another call. So I'm sorry I missed that. Please feel free to call in, though. Again, I'll give you a couple minutes here. But, yeah, it's going to be great. Again, tomorrow night, I'm guest hosting the Bigfoot Odyssey, so I hope you guys will come over there and check it out. I know a lot of you that are here are there as well, so at least it'll be a familiar crowd for me. Hopefully we'll represent the Odyssey in a good light. I don't want to I don't want to screw it up too much, but really looking forward to it. And again, the guest tonight is Terry Arnold, who is hiking, has a channel, Hiking with the Sasquatch Outlaw, and on YouTube, and you can check out his journeys there, and we're going to get into that. And I don't know if Don will make that or not. He might be there with me, But at the very least, I'll be there, and Daniela will be there, and we'll be representing the Bigfoot Odyssey and the portal as best as we know how. So that'll be tomorrow night. Again, that'll be 7 Central Time. If you're going by Pacific Time, that'll be 5 Pacific Time. And then, of course, our 2-hour show tomorrow night is from 7 Pacific Time. Oh, here's our call again. Let's see if I can get him on the air. All right, this is area code 407. You're on the air. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. I've been listening to you for about a good 2 weeks.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to give you one of my stories that I had when I was a kid.
Oh, very nice.
I had I was born in Peru, and we stayed with my grandma for a little bit, and my grandma's house was a little bit old. I think that she used to be like, her house used to be like a home for slaves back in the days.
Okay.
Way back in the days.
Right.
And well, anyways, we stayed there for a little bit, and because my father had some work at his old place that he used to work for.
Okay.
I believe I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I was sleeping next to my mom, and I remember just getting up and in the middle of the night going down the stairs, because it's a pretty big house, and it had, I think, like two or three, and going down the stairs, and I saw this being, this creepy being, pushing one of my uncles down a hole in the middle stairs. So what I did was I froze, and I looked at him, and he turned around, looked at me, and I didn't even know what to say. So as a kid, I was like, wow, I should run back upstairs next to my mom. So what I did, I ran back as fast as I could, and I looked down to where my mom was, and I was laying right next to her, still there. And I was shocked, so I froze. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And all of a sudden, there was like a breathing right behind me, and it started breathing hard, and it's like you're never going to wake up.
Oh. That's creepy.
So I'm struggling trying to get up. I'm like moving around trying to get up, and I'm not getting up. He starts laughing, and you're not going to get up. So okay, I left it at, I'm like, okay, this probably was a dream. Next morning I woke up. My mother told me, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, why? Why do you ask? She's like, well, last night you walked down the steps, and she's like, you were trying to come out the door, and you didn't go out the door because I picked you up and brought you back to bed.
Oh,
like,
wow.
And I told her everything that was going on. And from when I did not sleep for a whole entire week. And of course, my uncles had a ball with that, and they started making fun of me. And but then from what I gathered from my grandma, she told me that this place has had a lot of spirits in here, and a lot of things happened that shouldn't happen.
Right.
And so we went to the church, we got some holy water. I'm Catholic, and that's what I guess that's what it is. And she blessed the house, put a cross across my bed, and that was that. Never happened again. But I'm always trying to figure out what the heck was that.
Right. That's really creepy. And it sounds like it's so scary for a kid too. I mean, it's obviously you're much older than that now, but I mean, you've got to be a hell of a brave kid, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't sleep for quite a while. And I mean, a couple of things happened after that. I moved to New York, and the same thing. It's just a bunch of stuff that happened to me. It just continuously happened. And there was a point in my life, like I know I've heard, I've listened to a couple of your things, and they told me from what you said, well, from one of your the guys that you interviewed, said that once you stop using what's born with you, it goes away. Because I started hearing well, when I was sleeping, I started hearing whispers, and I used to also like know something that would happen before anything would happen.
Yeah.
And I started just ignoring it because I would rather ignore it than actually to continue to let it happen. So it eventually went away.
Okay.
My kids have well, my firstborn has he acquired it, and the same thing. I told him, hey, try to cut that out because it's scary.
Yeah.
And it stopped. It stopped for him as well because he used to so one time he turned around, hey dad, phone's ringing. I'm like, what? Phone rang.
Oh wow. Wow.
And I was like, no, this ain't happening. No.
Don't do that.
So it's just in a way it's like it stinks, but at the same time it's pretty cool because But I was just wondering with the first thing. I mean, what is it that you would think that would be something that, I mean, from what you've heard?
Well,
do you think that's like a demon possession, or is just, I mean, not demon possession, I'm sorry, like a demon thingy, or it's just some ghost, or
it's something.
My grandma's house?
Yeah, it sounds like something dark, but it doesn't sound demonic. It just sounds dark, and there are many, demons, of course, are the worst of the worst, but there are many dark things out there that try to prey on people, and some of them used to be people, and sometimes they try to walk in and take over people's lives. I suspect that you've got a real family trait of psychic ability, probably a real long history of that in your bloodline or something, and that's why you're seeing the same things manifesting in your kids. But psychic people tend to be really beacons for spirits, for any spirits, but of course the wayward ones that are maybe jealous of not being alive, maybe they're attached to the idea of being in a body, and it sounds like something was trying to walk in on you, is what it sounds like to me. And thank God it didn't succeed. Those are really kind of scary things,
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, growing up with like I said, with all this, with these things going around me. With my sister right now, she's in Santeria, and she's all over that.
Okay.
Growing up with her, it was ridiculous. It was like I didn't even know what to even think. But sometimes it's like, and sometimes I'm like, who the heck do I talk to about this? Because I'm like, this is weird. I'm like,
yeah.
But she when she grew up, the same thing. She used to get scratches on her arms. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like.
Do you know how to cleanse? I mean, do you know about you said the holy water and doing blessings, and that's really powerful. That's incredibly powerful stuff, and that's a great cleansing too. But there's since you're Catholic, I would look into some different medallions. There's different saints that represent different things, and they can be really powerful, especially since that's your faith. And so look into it. Maybe even just some St. Michael pendants to hang around in the house, just to make sure that the area seems clear. It's just one of those things that I think is going to probably continue to come up for you, because it's more about who you are, but just you have to learn how to protect yourself and for your children too. But you it sounds like you have a lot of strong faith in your family, so I think you'll be just fine. Just teach your kids how to claim their space. If they feel like something's around, no, this is not allowed, get away from me, you're not allowed to be here, claim your space, and tell these things, if they're dark and they mean trouble, they need to leave in the name of Jesus Christ or whatever saint you want to invoke. That it's all very powerful, but I think the key is just learning protection, because, I was referring earlier in the show about us losing what our ancestors knew, and, dealing with spirits and stuff. And I think part of what they knew was how to keep evil and negative things away. There's lots of old symbologies and stuff that were used by our ancestors to keep evil out. And we've mostly forgotten that stuff now. And most people think, well, I'm just going to hang up a crucifix and call it a day. And that can be powerful, but you can also do other things that can be equally powerful and definitely help. So definitely look into ways to protect, utilizing your faith, because, it's mostly important to stay within what is powerful to you spiritually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And that's it. No, it's come up a couple of times. I mean, in my son the other day, he was saying that he was on the couch sleeping, and he said that there was a white like glow that came over my face, and then there was a black glow to the right hand of me, and the white glow scared me more than the black glow.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah.
But he's like, and then I've heard stories from, because I have 3 kids, and they've all had different types of experiences. And I'm like, I got to figure something out, because it's like, I can't continue like this.
Right.
Because my family, like I said, my family is very spiritual, and they have a bunch of stuff going around that it's just laying on. But no, I would definitely do that, and I'll definitely, I got to see what could protect me somewhat, because
sure,
it's been a little bit crazy.
If it gets crazy, or if you feel like you need some more help, let me know. Write me an email at paranormalportal radio at gmail.com, paranormalportalradio at gmail.com. And I also have some friends of the show who are happy to help, people in this situation that are being tormented, and would be happy to, and it's free. They do it out of the goodness of their heart. So it's not a charge thing. They're not making any money at it, but, they'd be happy to help you too, if you feel like that would be something you'd like to look into.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, I listen to your show. It's awesome. I mean, from Black Eye Kids to everything that I've been hearing from Dogman.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Well, thank you, brother. Awesome. I'm really pleased to hear that, and thank you for being so supportive of the show, and thanks so much for calling in. Thanks for providing a story before, too, and if you have more, please email them in. I'd love to share those on the air, too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, brother. Have a good night. Take care.
You too. You take care. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for tonight's show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to everybody who called in and was a part of the show. It was fantastic to speak to all of you, especially the new friends, new wonderful people I met over the weekend. It was just brilliant. Thank you for making us feel so comfortable in your world. All right, guys. I love you guys very much. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll be back tomorrow, but remember, 7 p.m. Central Time or 5 p.m. Pacific. Head over to Bigfoot Odyssey on YouTube, and I'll be guest hosting over there, trying to represent as best as I can. So I hope you guys will join me, but otherwise, if you can't make that, show up here at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Don and I will be tearing it up on our Wednesday show, so one or the other or both. We'd love to see you. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you tomorrow.